Has Rich Rodriguez already made his first crucial mistake as the head coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers football team? Well, many on social media seem to think so. And in this episode, which is brought to you by BetUS Online and Katz, Cantor, Stonestreet, and Buckner, attorneys at law, we're going to talk about that and why Coach Rod's nepotism could be bad for the program, or at least why many think that's the case. And I'm going to give you my opinion on that, and we're going to do it right after this message. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stonestreet, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stonestreet, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, the home of top-shelf college football news and analysis on West Virginia, the Big 12, and conference realignment. Build yourself up to the bar and let me pour you out this shot of content. Now, there's been a lot of hullabaloo, I'll call it, on social media about Rich Rod hiring his family members at West Virginia. It was announced a couple of weeks ago that his son, Rhett Rodriguez, would be named the quarterback coach of the Mountaineers. And then, a few days later, we found out that his daughter, Raquel Rodriguez, would be hired on as the following: assistant athletic director for football management and strategy. Now, I have no idea what the heck that means, but all I know is she's going to be helping, apparently in some way, run the football program. Both of these, Rhett and Raquel, had spots on his staff at Jacksonville State as well in the 2024 season. I want that to be noted. Okay. So they were on his staff at Jacksonville State. They're following him to West Virginia. Now, I looked up the definition of nepotism to see if this applied. And here's the definition according to Google. It says, practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. So is this a case of nepotism? Well, I think it's hard to argue that it is. But is it a crucial mistake by Coach Rod to do so? And I'm of the opinion that it's not a big deal. And I'm going to explain why later. But first, let's talk about both of these family members, both of these children of Coach Rich Rodriguez and his wife, Rita. First, we'll touch on Rhett Rodriguez, the quarterback coach. When you look at Rhett's biography, now I do have to apologize, or I owe some apologies, I guess, or maybe I need to eat some crow about with some people I've been debating on social media. I can't remember their names, but if you're watching, hopefully you're watching this, but on X. And I was arguing that, hey, he has just as much experience as a quarterback coach or a football coach as some of the other past quarterback coaches West Virginia has had. And I named Michael Burchett primarily, who was a quarterback coach under Dana Holgorsen, but I was wrong. Michael Burchett had actually spent several years as an analyst and or a grad assistant before becoming a quarterback coach. And Rhett Rodriguez, even though he's been an analyst under his dad, he's only done it for a year. Now, I did also argue that Rhett has played under his dad, and now that's true. He did so both at Arizona a little bit and also at Louisiana Monroe when Rich Rodriguez was the offensive coordinator there. He played at ULM in 2021 and at Arizona from 2017 to 2020. Now, he didn't have a lot of stats. He didn't play a ton, right? So he doesn't have a whole lot of experience as far as game experience, but he does have some, and he has experience on the practice field. He has experience in the film room, and he has experience playing for his dad and coaching for his dad, at least a little of each of those. He's also grown up around Rich Rodriguez and has seen him coach football his entire life. He knows how he thinks. He knows what he wants. He knows how he's going to coach offense. He knows what he expects in his players, primarily the quarterback, because he's been that guy. If anyone's going to know the program, it's going to be Rhett Rodriguez. Or if anybody knows how Rich wants to coach the quarterback position, it's Rhett Rodriguez. I think that's a good thing there. I think that's one of the pros of Rhett Rodriguez getting the job. Now let's take a look at Rhett Rodriguez's background. It says Rhett, and this is his bio. You can find this right on West Virginia Sports' website. He has a lot of leadership. He's been a leader almost his entire life. He's a young man, but most of his life he's been in a leadership position. It says at ULM, he served as a team captain and was heavily involved in the weekly game planning as he assisted in breaking down opponent tendencies and analyzing film for the entire offensive unit. So he was basically acting as a coach then to a degree. Now, all quarterbacks have to break down film as part of the job, so I'm sure he had to do that anyway. But it says he was doing it for the entire offensive unit. So aside from practically being another coach on the field, he completed 51% of his passes for the Warhawks, throwing for 799 yards. Now, those, like I said, those numbers won't blow you away. But here's some more about the leadership. His teammates voted him as the offensive representative on the Player Leadership Council to not only the head coach, but to the athletic administration. That's how much his teammates thought of him. They voted him offensive representative. And he didn't even play a ton, right? All right, now let's move on. It says Rodriguez signed he talks about his career at Arizona a little bit. Another leadership position. He was heavily involved in the Tucson community when he played at Arizona and served as president of the school's Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So another leadership position as president of the FCA there. That's a plus. Another check mark in the leadership category. It says after his playing career ended, Rodriguez was a business associate for Northern Trust in Tempe, Arizona in 22 and 23 before making the career switch to collegiate coaching. And here's what he did at Northern Trust, and then I'm going to explain why this is a good thing. It says at Northern Trust, he worked in the financial world of developing exchange strategies and fund trading. He also conducted seminars with student athletes on financial planning and strategies for the future. He received his bachelor's in business administration from Arizona in 2020 and a master's degree in 2021 from Arizona in entrepreneurship before adding a second master's in psychology from ULM in 2022. So he's worked in the financial world, helping develop strategies and fund trading. He's helped conduct seminars for student athletes on financial planning. Who do you think is going to be able to talk to the young men and women, or the young men in this case on the football team, about planning for their future, about managing their NIL funds, and maybe even the funds they get when they go pro? They basically have an in-house financial analyst on their staff right here with Rhett Rodriguez. You don't think that's valuable? That's going to be very important when you're talking to a mother and a father in a living room, recruiting their son to go play for you. You can say, hey, we have a young man on campus who's worked in the financial industry who can be basically a quasi-financial advisor for your young son. I think that's important. We can help him manage his NIL money. The rev sharing money he's going to get from the university. We can help him manage it. Rhett has experience doing that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be spending a ton of time on that because he has to coach quarterbacks too, but it doesn't hurt. At least you have somebody that can go sit down with a young man and have those educated conversations. I doubt most programs have that built in to their coaching staff. Just something to think about. And again, he's a proven leader in various organizations. His teammates apparently think highly of him. So he seems like a very well-respected, intelligent young man. Okay? So take that. Yes, he lacks experience. I'll give you that. He lacks experience, and I'm sure there were probably candidates for the job with more experience. And if you think that's a bad thing, then that's, I'll give you that, okay? Now, I'm going to move over and talk a little bit about Raquel Rodriguez, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about why I don't think it's a big deal and why we need to stop worrying about it, okay? But first, I want to give a shout-out to my other sponsor, our good friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a brand new sports book, look no further than our friends over at BetUS. Right now, on your very first deposit, you get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit with promo code YouTube150. Promo code YouTube150, get 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your next two deposits. Grand total for those can reach up to $2,000. Make sure if you do play that you please play responsibly. Now let's get back to the show. And let's talk about Raquel Rodriguez, Rich Rodriguez's daughter. Now, Raquel Rodriguez, I mentioned she's coming on as assistant AD in over football management and strategy. Now at Jacksonville State, she served as a creative content coordinator. So I'm assuming that was their social media stuff. I'm assuming. Again, I have no idea what a football management and strategy person does, but I'm assuming they have a role for her. And somebody made a comment on one of my ex posts that, hey, Raquel is a very smart young lady. She has a lot of experience that she can bring to the table. Another thing about Raquel, she's grown up again around Rich Rodriguez. You don't think she's going to know how much attention to detail he has, what he likes, what he doesn't like in running a football program? Who's going to know that better than his own children? To me, the familiarity right here with, coaches want to surround themselves with people they're familiar with and people that know how they do things and that are on the same page. Who better to do that than your own family? Now, I understand the negative side of this. I totally get it. If they're not performing at their job, it makes it harder to fire them. Okay. I get that. I understand that. That's the reason nepotism can be a problem in the workplace. But nepotism in college football has been around since the beginning of time. And in a lot of cases, it's worked. Bill Belichick just hired his son to be his defensive coordinator. I know that's different because he has experience, but these are just some examples. The Trickett's. Travis Trickett got a grad assistant position or an analyst position, whatever it was back in the day at Florida State while his dad, Rick, was the coach there. O-line coach. Dan Nealon, Don Nealon's son, still works on West Virginia staff today as the equipment manager. Has been there since Don Nealon was the coach. And I know that's an equipment manager. It's not a coach. I get it. These are not, I'm not trying to say these are apples to apples comparisons here, but I'm just telling you, nepotism is not that unusual in the workplace. Bob Huggins' daughter had a spot in the West Virginia Athletic Department. Nobody ever talked about that. Nobody cared because it was Bob Huggins, and he basically, people looked at him as like a godly figure almost in the state of West Virginia. Myself included. So I don't understand why everybody's making such a big deal out of it. The people who should care about this? The people who might have gotten hired, or who might have been candidates for the job who didn't get it, right? Or Wren Baker. That's the people who should care. And if Wren Baker doesn't have an issue with it, and we have to assume he doesn't, right? Now, this is an assumption. I'm going to admit this is an assumption. We weren't, none of us, me nor you, were involved in the interviews when Wren Baker was interviewing Rich Rodriguez for the head coaching position. But I'm going to assume this may have come up in the conversation. I would like to hire my children on the staff. And I'm sure they talked about that. Okay. Here's another reason why it shouldn't matter. They're going to be surrounded by other people who can help them out. Let's look at Rhett, for example. Yes, he's quarterback coach in title, but let's look at who he's surrounded with. He has Travis Trickett as the senior offensive assistant. Travis Trickett has coached at many schools, including West Virginia, has coached multiple positions on the field, including, guess what? Quarterbacks. He did it at USF just a couple of years ago. He was offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for USF. So you don't think he's going to be able to help him navigate the waters of being a quarterback coach? Guess who else is a really good offensive coach on the West Virginia staff? That's right. The head ball coach, Rich Rod himself. He's worked with quarterbacks before. Why can't he do it again? He's the guru of this offense. One of the biggest offensive gurus in college football, maybe in the history of college football. There are stories out there that talk about that. A lot of the great coaches that are out there today that we know, Chip Kelly, for example, you know who they used to go to for tips and to talk ball with and get ideas from? Rich freaking Rodriguez. So I would imagine that Rhett Rodriguez probably knows his stuff. And let's give him a chance. At the end of the day, what do all of us West Virginia fans want? We want them to win games, right? Why do we care that his kids are on the staff to help do that? I don't. Maybe you do. Look, I'm not trying to say your opinion shouldn't be respected, but I'm just here to try to change your mind, tell you and explain to you why it's, at the end of the day, is it really that big of a deal? I'm a fan, and I'm somebody who covers a team on YouTube and pretty soon, once again, online in written form. But I just want them to win games, man. Just win. And if Raquel and Rhett can help do that, then do it by all means. But I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. Are you against this nepotism by Rich Rod hiring his kids? Or do you think it's not a big deal? I want to know your thoughts. And if you're somebody who knows Rhett Rodriguez or Raquel Rodriguez and their experience or lack thereof or whatever, anything about them that you want to share in the comments, as long as it's respectful, nothing personal, then please do so. I would love to hear some insight from someone who actually knows them or has been around them. I want to remind you that I have channel VIP members that I want to give a shout out to in this episode. I want to remind you that you can be a VIP member by hitting the join button below or the one over in my description box or on my channel homepage beside my profile photo. But the VIP member shout outs in this episode are Kenny Evans, Shannon Miller, Chester Whirl, CEO of The Sofa, one of my favorite names on YouTube, Tanner Tracks Premier, and Big E7375. Thank you all for being VIP members. I also want to give another shout out to my channel sponsors, BetUS Online and Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, attorneys at law. Thank them for helping me keep the lights on. I want to remind you to please like the video. It's a thumbs up. If you think I earned it, please share it with your family and friends. Please drop a comment below. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Help me get to my next big goal of 10,000 subscribers. Thanks for tuning in. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. And check out this video right here in the corner of your screen. YouTube thinks you might just like it. And Q Country Roads while you're at it.